you know, I come from the Principality of Liechtenstein. We are celebrating the 300th anniversary of our existence. Our country bears the name of the princely family, Liechtenstein. They are still the heads of state. Liechtensteiners are loyal citizens of the princely family. We could maintain our sovereignty despite being so small, the sixth smallest country in the world. Neither world wars nor European developments have changed anything. We grow up with our history. We are very aware of how important it is to stand up for our sovereignty. With this awareness, I am standing here to support the William Wallace Society and you. In the middle of July, I asked Gary if I was permitted to wear the Society tartan at the Highland Lightweight World Championships in Switzerland. His reply filled me with pride. I was a member and could wear it whenever and wherever I wanted to. I asked him at once to let me have the schedule of activities for the day of the commemoration of Wallace's death in Campus Cannon, as well as Wallace Day. He then wanted to know if I intended to come to Scotland to take part. I said, of course. Unluckily, I cannot go to every event that the Society attends, but these two events are, since last year, when I was admitted to the Society, fixed dates in my diary. Wallace Day, and above all, the day of his death, are extremely important cornerstone dates in the history of Scotland. Particularly, Wallace Day is one of the days on which you should remember where you are, who you are, what you are, and what you want to remain deep in your hearts, Scots. I am really proud to be a member of such a society. That I had the honor to carry the sword of our deceased convener, David R. Ross, at the front of the procession beside our convener, Gary, cannot be described in words. Many thanks for the trust in me. I have the greatest respect for all the commemorations that you all visit during the year. Whether it is Loudon Hill, Culloden Moor, Bannockburn, Stirling Bridge, and all the others, you take advantage of every opportunity to make sure that Scottish history stays alive. I am pleased to be able to support you in protecting the history of Scotland and to pass it on to your children and grandchildren. The way you, the society, achieved that so well is exemplary. The way in which it has been given unto and explained and celebrated by your fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers should be passed on to your descendants. We owe this to your ancestors who fought and died for the freedom of this country. This should not only be a responsibility, it should be our passion. We should not permit this history to be taken away or fed piece by piece, bit by bit. Every one of us should live hundreds.
As Robert once said, of what the poor the gifted see us, they see ourselves as others see us. Patrick allowed us to see ourselves as others see us today. And as we know, Scotland isn't just for people who are born in Scotland, it's for people who are Scots at heart. And I think we've seen the exemplification of those two things in Patrick's speech today. So thank you very much, Patrick. Our special guest speaker today is Tom Arthur, MSP, and it's very appropriate that Tom is here for at least three reasons, three different levels. First of all, some of you may know him already because he's the local MSP for Renfrewshire South, which includes Elderslie. Second, Tom has a master's degree in music, and as we know, for all the commemorations, music is very important to our events and integral to them. So hopefully, Tom, you'll enjoy some of the music here today as well. And thirdly, passion, right? Every one of us here are here because we have a passion for Wallace, a passion for Scotland, loads of passions, and we see that all our commemorations. Tom has certainly shown his passion at Holyrood. Now, you might look as though he's got a calm exterior in front of you here today, but when you get home tonight, look at YouTube. Put in Tom Arthur MSP in YouTube, and what will come up there was Tom Arthur's furious belter of a response to, well, I'm not going to say the person's name because it's, I know we're political, but it's a Tory person. I don't want to dignify that person's name by mentioning him here today. But have a look at that when you get home. Now, more importantly, Tom is very, very active in Holyrood. He participates in many cross-party groups, committees in the role of convener, vice-convener and ordinary member. So it's a real privilege to have Tom here addressing us. Please welcome Tom Arthur.
Thank you very much. I think that's probably the nicest introduction a politician's ever had. It's a real honour to have the opportunity to be here today and to share a few words. And as a politician, I say I will share a few words. I will keep my remarks to just a few words. But the first thing I want to say is to pay tribute to the Society of William Wallace and to thank society for all of the outstanding work that it does, not just on an occasion such as today, but throughout the year, for its engagement, for the work it does in promoting a deeper understanding of Scottish history, for not only nourishing our understanding of Wallace and promoting and deepening our understanding of Wallace's legacy, but having that broader and richer understanding of our country and our heritage. Because if there's anything the last few years in politics has taught us, is the importance of knowing our history and knowing our history accurately, and the consequences of not knowing our history. So this work is tremendously important, not just in continuing to promote an interest in Wallace, but an interest in Scotland, an interest in Scottish history, and an interest in history here locally. Because as we set off in March from Johnston, I felt that with every step I was taking, it was a step into the past, all the way back to that day in August 1305. And as I walked with all of you down to the monument, I was thinking of all the voices echoing in the history of Johnston, of Elderslie, and of all the other communities I'm privileged and honoured to represent in the Scottish Parliament. I think of the clatter of the mill in Johnston or in Newston. I think of our industrial heritage in my own hometown of Barrhead, home formerly of Shanks, providing relief to people the world over. And indeed, in more recent times, to the industrial heritage in Elderslie and the rejuvenation of Linwood, also within my constituency. And from these grand industries to the small industries of the weavers in Kilbarchan and across. And these voices speak to us. They speak to us today, they echo down the ages, and each voice, with its own tales, its own experience, is one of the innumerable threads that together form the modern tapestry of our complex, beautiful, challenging, difficult and inspiring Scottish identity. And it leads to that question, what is it to be Scottish? What is it to be a Scot? And I think the remarks that the previous speaker made were very informative, because to be Scottish is not about where you're born, it's not about
necessarily where you came from. It's about where you want to go. One of the previous members of the Scottish Parliament, Bashir Ahmed, the first Scots Asian elected to the Scottish Parliament, said with Scotland, it's not about where we came from, it's about where we're going. And that's something that is reflected in the legacy of Wallace, because his priority following Stirling was about re-engagement with our friends and allies in Europe. That outward looking. We know Wallace was a cultured and educated man. We know Bruce was a cultured and educated man. There's nothing parochial, nothing insular, but positive and outlooking. And it says something that identity that was so strong over 700 years ago is still so strong and prevalent today. And I'm struck by the analogies and the similarities between that period in history and today. It strikes me, 11th of September, 1297, a great date. 11th of September, 1997. That was the day the people of Scotland chose to reconstitute and reconvene their Scottish Parliament. I'm struck, 1307, the Battle of Loudon, a signal event in the journey towards Bannockburn. A certain event happened in 2007, 700 years later, a change of direction in Scottish politics. I'm struck in what happened in 1314 and what happened in 2014. When the people of Scotland may not have gained their independence on that particular day in 1314, but they took a huge step towards it. And I'm struck as well that next year, 2020, well, it was in 1320 that the people of Scotland appealed to the highest power in Europe for recognition. I can't help but feel that has some resonance to where we are today. There is much that can be said, there is much that can be unsaid. But one of the things that strikes me perhaps most about Wallace is of perhaps all the great national figures of all nations, is the one perhaps where the least documentary evidence survives. We have these fleeting glimpses, and yet perhaps no national figure, no national hero has had so much written about him. Because Wallace is more than a man, he's an ideal. He is written into the fabric of our national story, our sense of identity. He is someone whose motivations were pure and noble. Any study of history teaches us of the conniving and rapacious nature of various competing families in pursuit of power. But what makes Wallace so unique and so special and so relevant is that he was motivated by a higher ideal. And it's that ideal that still burns brightly today. And it's that ideal that we come to pay tribute to and to commemorate. Thank you.
Superb, Tom. Thank you very much. I love those comparisons between the late 12th, early 13th century and where we have been and where we're about to be, hopefully. Thanks very much, Tom. Can I now ask Marie and Sandy Herman to lay the wreath at the memorial, please? They will be accompanied by a piper. If anyone else has any tributes to leave as well, if you wouldn't mind following on behind Marie and Sandy. Thank you. That will be followed by a minute's silence. welcome the lads and lasses of Sir Alaba Pipes and Drums. They'll do a little set for you.
you? I know. For ages. You renewed your membership? It's for today. Just, I'm giving you the form. Because I'm not too sure if I'll get my grandson's trip that day. Seems to me the last time. Wallace was
Fantastic. We now invite Gary Stewart, the convener, to present the David Argos Award.
Sorry, I like to take the mic out. I don't like standing still when I'm talking. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to every single one of you for turning up today, because we only do what we can do. Put the event on, but you need to turn up to make it happen. So thank you very, very much, because without you, this day would never ever happen. Secondly, I've just heard that one of the bands are not taking any money off us for today. So a big thank you to Planning Drummer for that. I'm just looking at the flag there, Derry's flag, and I then listened to Patrick's speech as well, and I was like nearly greeting, to be perfectly honest with you. Patrick's speech was amazing. Thank you as well, Tom. Absolutely fantastic. The Davy R. Ross Award, I was fortunate to win it for the first year, and Irene Clark is down there. It was Irene's idea. So I know what it meant to me, and I've got a pretty good idea that I know what it's going to mean to the particular person that's won it this year. Now I'll go through, I won't name his name yet, and I'll go through this and I'll just find out when he's actually worked it out. It's actually him, to be honest with you. And I know when George Tom won it, I was fortunate, I wasn't doing the speech at the time, so I could look at George Tom when he was actually, when George Kemp was sort of talking about him. And you can see George going, yeah, I think I did that. I think I did that, and then when it actually clocked on, it was actually definitely him. I keep busting out greeting him, so it was actually quite good to see. It was nice to see. Now this person has been involved with this society over the last 25 years. He's ran his own organisation for probably the last 30 odd years. He's been involved with everything that the society's done. heavily involved when Davy R. Ross got involved with the walk for Wallace. And people, I know because I was there and involved with Davy, but there's a lot of people who don't know what this person got involved with to make the actual event itself work. When the society were involved in a situation, I'm not good at computers, which most people will actually know. It's why I don't text people. It's my excuse for phoning people. My excuse for phoning people at 2 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock because my brain's working at that point, so I do apologise. But the computer system, our website wasn't really working. So at that point, this particular person decided, who's quite good at computers, I think he's worked at it, and decided to take on the webmaster role for the society. And if you're on the computer and you look at our website, you'll see how good it is. He's obviously had to endure many phone calls from myself over the months. I think it's Darth Vader or Star Wars. Yeah, years. A cracking personal friend of Davy R. Ross. And from my point of view, the major reason I'm really pleased about this is he made a speech a couple of years ago at Wallace Day and said, "I'll never, ever, ever speak at Wallace Day again." Well, unfortunately, Mr. Nick Brand, you need to. Nick Brand.
Thank you very much.
Now, one of the things that the society is involved in at the moment is in Port Glasgow, which is the tree that is reputed that William Wallace was chained to before he was taken down to London. Now, we've obviously, Niall is really heavily involved in this, and we've got a little bit of the oak tree here, and what I'd like to do is present that to Patrick as a little souvenir. Now, I'm not good at words, but the person that is a tree expert, and it's a big long word for whatever a tree expert is, Coralie's been involved in this. I think she charges about £2,000 for anything that she gets involved in, and she never charged us anything like that at all. And has actually been heavily involved in helping us prove that this is the tree that William Wallace was chained to. I'm a bit annoyed with Glasgow Airport because I spoke to them this morning. They were quite good at the minute silence, but they obviously stopped the planes, but obviously there's been a bit of a misunderstanding as to how long the event went on for, so I do apologise for the noise. If you look at the sky, well, you can't, it's gone now, but there was 2 saltires up there, there's one there, well, that's up, basically there was 3. So from my point of view, and I said this on the march, every year we've done Wallace Day the last 2 or 3 years and it's rained, it's been horrible. Davy and Duncan have passed away at that time and obviously didn't do anything about it. Unfortunately, Andy Hillhouse passed away last year, and every event we've done since Andy's passed away, the weather's been absolutely stunning. So I think he's obviously told Davy and Duncan to get their finger out and make sure that the weather's good for us boys that are still trying to work things out here. When I was looking at Davy's flag there, I'm just proud that the boys on the committee and the people at the society have kept what Davy and what Duncan has kept on. And when I've looked at the flag there, there's a duck there, which is Davy's duck, and I'm carrying that now. So Davy and Duncan, Andy, Lachlan, everybody are all still with us today. And hopefully in years to come, I've been going to commemorations now for the last 30 odd years. I want to go to every commemoration once we've had another vote and be able to say to people, we didn't let you down, boys. You fought and died for what we've just won again. Thank you. Abacabra.
Abacabra.
Thanks
very much, Gary, and congratulations, Nick. Well deserved, well deserved. I know Gary will not remember this, but the word he was looking to find was dendrochronologist. Next year I'm going to ask him to spell it. It's always a great pleasure to introduce the next person. He's a man most of you know very well, he's a friend of many of us, and he's one of Scotland's greatest sons. He also has this uncanny knack of always finding the right words, whether it's in speech, whether it's in song, and I'm sure he's going to do it again, so no pressure at all. And Ted Christopher. He can get the words right, but no tuning the guitar. That takes a wee bit more difficulty for him.
Hello. It's great to be at one of these commemorations and it's sunny. Those of us who have done many of them have had every season. And it's just nice when you can complain about being sweaty as opposed to being freezing. But those of you, if there's any of you that are too hot, the cure for that is to come to Culloden next April. As a singer, I get sent a lot of songs and a lot of poetry that people want me to write music to. And to be honest, I just didn't have the time, because I didn't have time to do my own stuff. But I did get one song from a guy who sent me an email and said, "This is my daughter singing, will you have a listen to this?" And I thought, this is a proud daddy who thinks his daughter's the best in the world. As we all do, of course. So I listened to it, it was great. It's a young girl called Lisa Hill, and she actually runs a backpackers hostel on the Isle of Skye called Skywalker Hostel. That was a commercial break. And she sent this song, and I thought it was great, so I'll share it with you. Your wild craggy majesty, your long years of history, you lay be up here to me forever, my heart. Your magic and mystery and freedom, your destiny. You are the best of me forever, my heart. Scotland, Scotland, your name's like a song that will sing in my heart for my whole life long. Scotland, Scotland, you lay call me forever, my heart, and I lay sing your name. With your pride and humility, your humour and your dignity, are in nationalities forever, my heart. Your old throne tenacity to keep your identity. You are the best of me forever, my heart. Scotland, Scotland, your name's like a song that will sing in my heart for my whole life long. Scotland, Scotland, you lay call me forever, my heart, and I lay sing your name. We are mindset on liberty, yet mindful of yesterday. I pledge you my loyalty forever, my heart. And I'd give all I hate to give to see you once more be free. You are the best of me forever, my heart. Your name's like a song that was singing my heart for my whole life long. Scotland, Scotland, you lie coming forever my heart, and I lie sing your name forever my heart, and I lie sing your name. I've done loads of these speeches. Never ever used notes or things before, but I realised I'm getting a bit senile in my old age. So if somebody could tell me who I am, that would be very helpful. 14 years ago today, about this time, I was sitting in a cafe at King's Cross in London, along with the guys in the band and Ziggy Wilson and a couple other people. And we were just getting something to eat before we headed back up to Scotland. We just spent the most incredible few days in London in the company of 1,000 other Scots. We converged on the capital, not just from Britain, but from America, from Alaska, Canada, France, Germany, Argentina, probably a few other places as well. They'd all come for one reason. It wasn't for the Tartan Army, it wasn't a sporting occasion. They'd come to pay respect to one man, William Wallace. The day before was the 700th anniversary of William being murdered by the English. And we decided we just wanted to be there. Each of us individually wanted to be there. 1,000. There can be few people who have walked this earth that could attract 1,000 people to come from other countries to see them 700 years after they died. Wallace had that charisma, still has that charisma. Very, very powerful. During his life he was that powerful that Edward I had to get rid of him. Unfortunately, it has been seen repeated over the centuries. It was because he was betrayed by a Scot. Too many times Scotland has been betrayed by Scots who have been paid by English gold. It's not a historical thing, it's still happening today. On this occasion, it was by a guy called Sir John Menteith. He actually betrayed Wallace at the old kirkyard in Rutherglen, at a meeting there where he told the English exactly where to find Wallace. And Wallace was captured at the beginning of August at Royston. Menteith came from a wee place in Stirlingshire called Rusky. And part of the family lands was a stretch of water which is now known as the Lake of Menteith. The Lake of Menteith is the only lake in Scotland. And the reason it's the only lake in Scotland is because the locals refused to call it a loch. It wasn't worthy of the name if it held the Menteith name. So that's just a wee bit of information for you if somebody ever asks you why is it the Lake of Menteith, not the Loch of Menteith. The trial, of course, was a total sham. Wallace was charged with treason, a charge which in itself couldn't possibly be valid. He'd never been a subject of Edward I. But he was taken after his sham trial, immediately outside, dragged behind a horse to Smithfield, where a huge crowd waited. The executioners were ready, the gallows were ready. Gives you a wee hint there that there wasn't any other way that the trial was going to go, and everything else was waiting for him. He was sentenced to be hung, drawn and quartered. We've all seen it on Braveheart, we know how barbaric it is. It was probably worse than Braveheart ever showed. His 4 limbs were sent to Scotland as a warning to other Scots. They were displayed publicly just so that Scots knew if they betrayed or were going to stand up against Edward I what could happen to him. His left arm was displayed on Stirling Bridge on a pike. Now we know that Wallace was brought up by his uncle in Dunnapace, who was a priest. So it's a pretty good bet that the monks at Kenneth Abbey were pretty sympathetic to Wallace. Local legend in Stirling has it that in the middle of the night his arm was taken from Stirling Bridge and buried in consecrated ground at the Abbey in Kenneth. If you go and visit the Abbey, there is a long stone at the Abbey which points towards the Abbey Craig where the Wallace Monument now sits, but which of course was the vantage point that Wallace and Andrew de Murray surveyed the battle scene the day before the battle. They used to have WW carved on it. I think it's probably eroded away now. We believe his arm is there. There's no proof his arm is there, but we believe so. And in fact, some of us, I didn't make it, but some of us here were present last night when we had a wee ceremony just to pay our respects to what might be the only remaining part of the man. But of course, that was another reason why bodies were chopped into bits, because there was a medieval belief that you couldn't pass over into the afterlife if you didn't have a body. So Edward believed that by quartering Wallace, he was refusing him the chance to meet his day of judgment. Well, Edward succeeded in getting rid of Wallace in the short term. What he also succeeded in was turning the man into an instant martyr. And also, by refusing to let his soul pass over, it went somewhere. It went into the heart of every patriotic Scot that's lived ever since. And Edward could never have foreseen that. But to get back to the day, we all gathered at Westminster. This is where the trial obviously took place. We gathered there, we had a wee ceremony there, and then we went outside to make the long march to Smithfield. Before I go on about the march to Smithfield, I'm going to do a wee song, because that's what I do. And I briefly mentioned Braveheart. Braveheart was brilliant. It wasn't very accurate. We all know it wasn't very accurate. But I woke a pride and a belief in Scotland that had been sleeping for far too long. And it took Wallace's name worldwide. Not being accurate. The real story of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, Wallace and Andrew de Murray chose exactly where the battle was going to be. It was the crossing over the River Forth, which was at the lowest point you could cross. From the bridge, for a mile ran a causeway across boggy marshland that horses couldn't possibly travel across. So in effect, the greatest cavalry in Europe got across this bridge 2 at a time, and could only stay 2 at a time on this causeway, and we could handle 2 at a time. But somewhere in the making of the film, they managed to lose the bridge. In fact, they lost the entire river. So I wrote this wee song, and I sent this to Mel Gibson actually. This is called Where's the River, Mel? An Australian came to town one day and he brought a film crew. He said, you've got a story here, tell you what I'll do. Gonna take this man called Wallace and I'm gonna spread his fame. Very soon the whole wide world will know your hero's name. So we talked to the historians of battles that were won, and how that day at Stirling Bridge we made the English run. Then he talked to all his money men, and it seems they had their way, 'cause they made the film in Ireland, so now I've got to say, where's the river mill? Won't you stand here with me? Look down from Stirling Castle, tell me, what's that you see? That's a river mill, and it's where it's always been. So how come there's no trace of it upon your silver screen? We fought hand to save our land. It was hot and sweaty work. When the English come, we bared our bums, we did not give a foot. Then we turned back to the water's edge to wash off all the gore. For it's hard to bathe in a river that ain't there anymore. Where's the river mill? Won't you stand here with me? Look down from Stirling Castle, tell me, what's that you see? Aye, that's a river mill, and it's where it's always been. So how come there's no trace of it upon your silver screen? Well, they called the film Braveheart, and it was loads of fun. Wasn't much like history, but at least we still won. Now the tourists come from all the world and they gaze down on this place. But as they look out to the monument, there's surprise in their face. There's a river mill, and it's where it's always been. So how come there's no trace of it upon your silver screen? Aye, that's our river mill, the real battle scene, where Wallace sent them homeward to think again. So if you ever get to thinking that Bannockburn could be a theme, then please remember, Mel, Burn is Scottish for a stream. Thank you very much. Right, back to London. So we came out of Westminster, and there was just this huge sea of saltires heading up the road, the 6 miles to Smithfield. We got about halfway, we're probably about Threadneedle Street where the Bank of England is, and we're passing this hotel lobby. And this will stick in my mind forever. As we're passing this hotel lobby, this guy comes out in a hurry with a pinstripe suit on and wanders right into the middle of all these saltires. And it turns out the guy's Scottish, and he's just absolutely gobsmacked, and it's like, what the? And this wee voice says, we're invading. So we explained to him why we were there and what we were going to do, and his response to that was, well, bugger the work, I'm coming with you guys. And the last I saw him was late that evening in the Welsh Centre when he was lying in a corner absolutely gutted. But he had a good day. So we got to Smithfield, we laid a wreath at the plaque at Smithfield. Clan Drummer played, and those of us who were lucky enough to have a ticket to get into the church made our way into St Bartholomew's Church. Now it was a full Christian burial service. It was all planned by Davy Ross. Davy had come to me in 2004 and told me what he was going to do. He said, we have to mark the 700th anniversary. He says, I'm going to walk from Rob Royston to London, the route that Wallace was taking. And I'm going to walk it in the time scale that Wallace did it. And he did. He walked all the way from Rob Royston to London. And he'd set up a whole funeral service for Wallace, because he'd been denied one 700 years ago. He'd never had a funeral service. So he gave me a shout and he said, I want you to write a song that we can sing in the church. And I said, my immediate reaction was, Davy, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that justice. And those of you who knew Davy, he was about 6'6", and he just towered above me and I looked down and I said, you can and you will. There wasn't any argument. So I set about writing a song, and to be honest, it was probably one of the easiest songs I've ever written. It just seemed to flow out. took probably about an hour, and most of it was done. So I recorded it roughly, and I phoned Davey and I said, come and have a listen. So the two of us listened to it together, and he never said a word. And at the end of it, he just stood up and he looked down at me, and the tears were running down his face, and he still didn't say anything. He just gave me a huge bear hug.
Pick a hand. Just
And
pick
I
a
just
hand.
sort of took it for granted that that was okay, that would do. So it was, and I sung it in the church. The church service was just something else. Davey gave a fantastic speech in the church. Alex Salmon spoke. I sang. Ronnie Brown for the chorus sang. I remember Ronnie saying to me as the church was filling up, he says, how are we going to get through this without crying in the middle of the songs? So we made a deal. I said, I'll cry when you're singing, you can cry when I'm singing. So that's what we did. I didn't find it difficult. I mean, I'm quite used to people greeting when I start singing. But it was just an absolute honour to be there. Those of us who were in the church, and there's a few here today who were in the church, it was an experience that you can't possibly portray to anybody else in words. The opportunity to pass over into the afterlife. I also believe he didn't take it. He decided he still had work to do here, so we brought him home. We brought him back home, his spirit, to Scotland. Now, that might seem a wee bit airy-fairy and a bit far-fetched, but I want you to consider something. That was 2005. In 2005, we just had an election. We had a Labour government in Scotland. We had 6 SNP MSPs. We got a total vote of just over 400,000. Within 9 years, we now control the Parliament. We had a referendum which we gained 4 times that number of votes. Within 9 years, we multiplied the vote for Scotland being a free nation by 4. We didn't make it. We lost the referendum. Many of us here will think we lost the referendum very unfairly. That shouldn't be a surprise. The British establishment has never done anything fairly. We have to learn from that and make sure we win the next one. It's a long road. We've come most of the road. Independence is now in sight, but there's still a big hill in front of us. But I believe that as we climb that hill, Wallace is out there in the front, along with Davy Ross, Duncan Fenton, and every other patriot has gone before. And I believe that they will be standing side by side with us, cheering on the day that the Saltire is raised outside the UN to signify that Scotland stands free in the world, equal with every other free nation in the world. We will do it. I'm going to sing a song which I wrote about 1320, about the Declaration of Arbroath. And it's different language, it's different times. We're still fighting for independence, we're still fighting for Scotland. Hopefully we're doing it in a peaceful way now, but the sentiments are exactly the same. Who will stand and be one of 100? Who will fight for what is surely right? And tomorrow be able to stand free and tall and tell your children you answered the call. My father died with Murray at the Brig of the Forth. At Bannockburn I lost my eldest son. So I will fight for 3 men to hope that they have won. When Scotland needs 100, I will be one. I will stand and be one of 100. I will fight for what is surely right. And And tomorrow I'll be able to walk free and tall and tell my children I answered the call. Frae the northeast I come with the pride of my clan, and I'll join with the men frae the west. We'll meet many good friends on the lowland plains, and those proud border men who stand guard of the south. And we will stand and be one of 100. We will fight for what is surely right, and tomorrow be able to walk free and tall and tell our children we answered the call. We fight not for honour or glory, for in killing a man there is none. We fight not for riches or to conquer, but for Scotland and freedom alone. I will stand and be one of 100. I will fight for what is surely right, and tomorrow I'll be able to walk free and tall and tell my children I answered the call. So if under the saltire I should fall, tell my children I answered the call. Thank you very much. I'll leave you this. I'd like to dedicate this to every one of you who've made the effort to be here today. To everyone who's made the effort to be anywhere on behalf of Scotland over the centuries since Wallace. But particularly to one guy, to Davy Ross, who gave me the opportunity to write this, to sing it in the church at Smithfield. Because for a Scottish singer, in my eyes, there can't be any greater honour than to sing at William Wallace's funeral. I did not close my eyes for the last time under Caledonian skies, with my good friends gathered all around me to say the last goodbye. But I will not be forgotten. In the heart of every Scot I still live on. Now it's time to fly the saltire high. My spirit's coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Back where I belong. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. My spirit's coming home. They tore apart my body, so I could not rise on Judgment Day. But what they did not realize is now I'll never go away. Coming back to the land I love, to the people I hold dear. 'Tis Scotland, St Andrew, and freedom. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Back where I belong. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. My spirit's coming home. Now I'm returning after all this time. Caledonian skies, to the country I died for, so that our nation could survive. Once again to stand beside the people I hold dear, for Scotland, St Andrew, and freedom. I'm coming home, I'm coming home, back where I belong. I'm coming home, I'm coming home, my spirit's coming home to Scotland, St Andrew, and freedom. Back to Scotland, St Andrew, and freedom. Thank you very much once again. It's been an absolute privilege.
What can I say? Absolutely wonderful. And thanks for not making a liar out of me, Ted. Okay, getting towards the end. Ted will be back in about 15 minutes' time to sing us all home with Scots Go Hey, so please, it's a must to wait around for that. Also a must, we're about to have a 15-minute set from the thrilling and stunning Clannan drummer who will be playing down there. So, Clannan drummer, please. Also, Ted focused his speech on the Walk for Wallace from 2005. If anyone doesn't have it and is still interested in learning more about it, there's still a couple of DVDs about Davy Ross's Walk for Wallace still available in the merchandise over there, so that's an option for you there. So, okay, listen, thanks so much for turning out today. I think it would be great if we could give a round of applause for the people in the society who have organised this today, for the fantastic speakers, the fantastic musicians. Thanks one and all.
Neil actually turned round and said to me, "Are you tuning up?" I never tune up twice in the one day. Right, this isn't me singing, this is everybody singing, okay? Scots were here wi' Wallace bled, Scots were Bruce as often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. For now's the day and now's the hour. See the front of battle lower, and see approach Prince Edward's power. Chains and slavery. War could be a traitor knave, Wassy base as be a slave. War could fill a coward's grave, let him turn and flee. And war for Scotland's king and law, freedom's sword will strongly draw. Freeman stand or freeman fall, let him follow me. By oppression's woes and pains, by your sons in servile chains, we will drain our dearest veins, but they shall be free. Lay the proud usurpers low, tyrants fall in every foe, and liberty's in every blow. Let us do or die. Scots were here wi' Wallace bled, Scots were Bruce as oft times led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Thank you very much. It's been a fabulous afternoon. Have a safe journey home. See you all again next year. If anybody's feeling adventurous, Stirling Brig March and Commemoration is on Sunday the 8th of September. And it's at 2 o'clock from Causeway Head, Plain Park, a nice level 1 mile walk down to Stirling Bridge. That's a mile. Well, that's a mile and a bit. It's no far down to Stirling Bridge, and then we'll have a hoolie after it in the rugby club. If anybody's up for it. If you're on Facebook, there's an event on Facebook, Stirling Bridge Commemoration. Check it out. Hopefully see you then. Thank you very much.